Well, Rocktober continues to churn right along as Rockwall heads to East Texas and they defeat Tyler Lee 42-35, moving their district record to 3-2, and they are within reach of a playoff spot. Hello, everybody. Chris Curtis here for the Rockwall Sportscenter Yellowjacket update, and I'm bringing Dak back in. We had Romo back, now Dak's back, and I'm sure you watched last week, David, and of course he said you weren't as good looking as him. So, but he's at a spa day today, right? So Billy's taking the day off for that.
Exactly.
So.
You know, the thing that I'm not going to do, it just kind of like the way that Dak's handled those opportunities and point towards it. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to be, when I'm called upon to do my job, I'm just going to do my job. Obviously, here is a wrap up, and each one of these games count for the teams that are playing on the field. It's the same for the broadcasters. We just want to get into the playoffs, and it's about a team effort more than just me. So I'm comfortable in my role. I'll just do my job when I'm called upon.
Humble and beautiful. That's the way a county judge should roll, of course. But of course, David, we're here to talk about the Rockwall Yellowjackets' big win on Friday night, 42-35 against Tyler Lee. And it was definitely a game that Rockwall needed to win. It was a game that Tyler Lee had not won a district ball game yet. But they always seem to give Rockwall a little bit of a run for their money. So definitely a game that Rockwall likes to have in their back pocket now. But it was definitely a close game, and it went down to the wire, as Billy said on air. It was almost like a tennis match, back and forth, back and forth. Luckily, Rockwall was able to come out in the very end with a W.
Yeah, it's a very important win. There's no doubt about that. Rockwall, as you mentioned, has kind of been in a position where they needed to win out to make the playoffs. There's no question about that. That continues, really, as far as Friday or Thursday night is concerned, against Mesquite, and then Rockwall needs to win against North Mesquite. But they responded, went out to East Texas. It's always tough out there. Whether you're going out to Longview to take on the Lobos or whether you're battling John Tyler and Tyler Lee. And it played out exactly like you thought it would have, that it was going to be a very tough ball game. Tyler Lee's a very young football team, new coaching staff, but those guys they've got a bright future. They're going to be really, really tough to take on the next couple of years for sure. But it was just a really complete ball game. I'll highlight, of course, you mentioned the fact that we're 3-2 in district. 2-0 at Tyler Rose. Maybe we need to take that into consideration.
That's just our second home stadium, right? For sure.
Rockwall's had a lot of success out there, but it's kind of played out just to where this district is everything that you thought it would be, and each one of these ball games are very exciting.
And of course, when Rock won the past, they've had games where, they went undefeated in district. And of course, there were some games in there that you're going, well, what the heck happened? And I know I texted Rodney after the game, and he said an ugly win is still a win. It's a win. That's all that matters at the end of the day. You get that W in the win column. So Rockwall definitely needed to pull out all their bags of tricks for this game as well. And Rodney always has those ready to go in October. So talk about the aspect of this game and just how, Tyler Lee would punch, but Rockwall would punch right back.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everybody was involved in this. And of course, you talk about you called it Rocktober. I think that's a very good description. You and Billy came up with that, I think, a week ago.
We'll give that to Cue Ball. We'll give him one good idea for the year.
That's it. That's the only idea he gets. And hats off to you. But it was everything that you thought of. You talk about Coach Webb pulling one out of his hat, or always having those trick plays. Of course, a little throwback there with the quarterback, with a little bit of a wrinkle. Of course, and we'll talk here in a moment about that, from Reed Rayco to Matt Jones. But it was just an unbelievable game. And it's funny that Rodney told you that in a text. That's what he said to us. We had an opportunity to visit with him at the end of the ball game, and he emphasized again something that we all know. It's always that way, but especially on the back end here as you get up wrapping up regular season, and each one of these games count. As you get ready to head into the postseason, that a win is a win is a win, and good for Rockwall that they came out ahead.
I can't believe we're already talking about the end of the football season here. We're getting close, but of course, we want to hear from the captain of the ship, Rodney Webb, after his team's 42-35 against Tyler Lee. Let's hear from him right now.
Well, it was a pretty typical Rockwall game this year, one that went all four quarters, and neither team was able to pull away from the other. And it was a game that I don't think there was any greater than 7 point differential the whole game. 21-21 halftime, and typical fashion, it went right down to the wire, and we scored a big touchdown late in the fourth quarter. And then, the big play of the game, Jacob Rather got an interception in the end zone to seal the victory with less than a minute left.
It's a quick turnaround for Rockwall. They will play Thursday over at Hamby against Mesquite. Mesquite officially was eliminated from the playoffs this past Friday night as they lost to Heath in a big game. Their season was on the line, and so was Heath's. So now we talk about Mesquite, and we look ahead. We look at the standings right now. It's really a 5-team race, and only 4 teams are going to get in, and Two Rockwall ISD schools are mixed in with Longview, John Tyler, Mesquite, Horn, and North Mesquite. Excuse me, 6 schools are still in play. Sorry, excuse me. I always seem to forget North Mesquite is there too. But it's going to be a dogfight to the end. If you look at the standings, you might say, okay, give Rockwall win number 4, but of course nothing is guaranteed in this district, as every game means something, and Mesquite's going to bring a lot to the table. They are a talented football team with a great quarterback, great running back, and they will obviously provide some annoyance for Rockwall on Thursday night. But it's definitely a game that Rockwall needs to get in the bag as they move into the final game of the season.
Yeah, I like the Yellowjackets' chances. I think that Rockwall's a better football team playing, as we just mentioned a moment ago, and we've seen this over the last couple of weeks, kind of clicking on all cylinders at this point. However, again, I go back to this district. I think it speaks to the level of play when you mentioned that 6 of these teams are still alive, and the 2 teams that are out of that, Tyler Lee gave Rockwall everything they can handle. And it's 0-5 in district play. Mesquite beat Tyler Lee the week before. So we saw that Tyler Lee was comfortable playing in that, attempting to play in that spoiler role and giving it everything they had Friday night. Expect the same thing out of the Skeeters. And Rockwall will definitely have a challenge. Say this all the time, good quarterbacks, good running backs. Well, they've got a heck of a running back there for Mesquite that Rockwall's going to have to really focus in on trying to stop Thursday night.
And of course, you look at the playoff picture. Of course, district is still not out of the equation yet. It's going to be very, very hard for Rockwall to capture their 3rd straight district championship, but it's still in play. Of course, Longview could lose this week, and John Tyler could fall, and then Rockwall's tied for first place. So really, anything can happen here as far as the standings go. But we kind of look ahead as far as to next week. Of course, Rockwall will have their senior night, and they will have more than likely a very, very big and very, very meaningful game against North Mesquite. Of course, that's for next week to look forward to. Of course, first things first. You got to beat Mesquite first before you can move on to that. But definitely exciting times here at Rockwall High School as they started 0-3, and now they are the number 1 seed essentially right now in their district as a big school, small school goes. They are the number 1 seed for a home game, playoff game. Of course, thank you, UIL, for this is the last year of that mess. They canceled all that. But Rockwall still has a chance to host a playoff game here in about 3 weeks and when the calendar turns in November. So lots to look forward to in the final 2 weeks of the season, and hopefully Rockwall can jump into a playoff spot here.
Yeah, exactly. This is everything that you could have asked for from a Yellowjackets perspective. Yeah, you bet. The last couple of years have been outstanding. It's so much fun when you go out there and you dominate your opponent. You go undefeated in district play and all of that good kind of stuff. And we know how those seasons played out, advancing into the postseason. Really, this is exactly the spot that the Yellowjackets football team wanted to be in. They wanted these last few games to matter. And Rockwall kind of they do control their own destiny, go out here and take care of these 2 wins and head into the playoffs. And you mentioned being in a spot to where not only advancing into the playoffs, but hosting a bi-district round of the playoffs.
Who would have thought that in 5 weeks ago?
Exactly. It's just amazing that they're in this spot. And then I'll say this, as far as this district is concerned, as you mentioned, 6 teams being in a spot to advance into the postseason. Tell you what, all 4 the 4 teams that make it out of this district, I sure would not want to play any of those 4 teams in the bi-district round of the playoffs. So, again, reiterates, speaks to the quality of play and the depth of this district from top to bottom.
And we hope there's going to be 4 teams. Hopefully Rockwall is one of those 4. Of course, the 2 that do not make it, it's going to be a very, very disappointing season and a long off season for them. As any other district, they might be the number 1 seed in the whole district. So that's just how this district was going to roll. We knew it was going to happen, and unfortunately, we knew some teams were going to be left out of this equation as far as the playoffs go. But hopefully, Rockwall can take care of business on Thursday, and then they can look ahead to senior night in a week and a half here as they will take on North Mesquite. Any final thoughts? This Thursday night, we'll see you 7 o'clock. Don't forget to join David and his team. How you like that better?
David and the crew.
David and the crew. Okay, at 7 o'clock, it's www.rockwallisd.com to hear the game. And of course, if you can't listen to the guys, just get out to Hamby. It's right down the road here in Mesquite. Let's pack the house and make some noise.
Yep, exactly. Now, as far as last words are concerned, it's just an exciting time to be a Yellowjacket fan. How neat it is to be in this spot. And I do want to encourage folks, if you can't make it out to the ball games, we're always glad to hear folks listening to the broadcast. But I want to emphasize, get out here this week on Thursday night. Head out to Hanby. It is close, as you said. Let's pack that house and cheer these kids on to victory. And, of course, get ready to come back home and wrap up and celebrate the accomplishments of all of these great seniors and pack the last home game a week from Friday against North Mesquite.
have one more. Hopefully we'll have one more.
There you go, buddy.
We're still thinking ahead. And of course, real quick, want to give a great shout out to the Lady Jacket volleyball team. They clinched second. They had a hard fought match against Rockwall Heath. Congrats to Rockwall Heath as well for winning district. Rockwall ISD definitely runs that volleyball district for
cool,
sure. That's pretty awesome. And of course, Lady Jackets have kicked off their basketball season, and the Jackets will kick off their season on Wednesday as well. So basketball is here, football is winding to an end, volleyball is kicking up playoffs. It's a fun time right now.
It's a fun time to be a Yellow Jacket, and then a Yellow Jacket fan and fan of any Yellow Jackets or the Hawks, as they both seem to be in the. How cool it is that both those two teams are in the mix there. Tough matchups as far as the postseason is concerned for their opponents against these two teams in volleyball season. And
That's the way it should be, right?
that's the way it absolutely should be, and I think that's it will continue. No matter what conversation, whether it's volleyball or football, basketball, baseball, softball, it's a fun year looks to be a fun year to be a sports fan in all honesty.
Absolutely. Well, David, thanks for joining me. We'll see you Thursday night. Jacket fans, pack Hanby, and we'll see you on Thursday night, 7 p.m. Have a great week, everybody. And don't forget, Jacket Fight never dies. We'll see you around, everybody.